this session at least, because my colleagues took the better part yesterday, speaking on the easier part, which is about the life and teaching. So I'm left here to speak on the iconographies, which I'm not an expert myself. Nevertheless, I'll try to shed some light on this. But since I'm 3 years old, I've actually lived, breathed, and dreamed and slept Guru Padmasambhava. So here, more than being confident, I feel very blessed to be speaking a little bit about the Guru Padmasambhava. I understand the time constraint is always there, and usually I do not have habit of going over the time. I'll try to do my best, also because I don't have much to read this time. So I'll be brief. It's about the image, symbolism, and visual culture associated with the Guru Padmasambhava. So no religious or spiritual icon has left a powerful impact other than Guru Padmasambhava in the hearts and minds of people in the region of the Himalayas, from Nepal, Ladakh, Karsha, Kinnaur, Spiti, Sikkim, Bhutan, Mon, which is now present-day Arunachal, and Tibet. And excuse me if I left out some places here and there, but it's all included within this. As a matter of fact, the arrival of the Guru from the Indian subcontinent during the 8th century transformed spiritual, cultural, and social landscape of the Himalayas forever. Guru Rinpoche tamed and transformed hostile forces and inaccessible terrain of Tibet and the Himalayas region into a most fertile and receptive spiritual land, where the Buddha Dharma is fully transplanted. To this day, Himalayan Buddhism remains sole living tradition, where all schools of Buddhism, Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana, are studied and practiced as fully integrated path. Guru Padmasambhava, as his name suggests, was born from the lotus. Some, of course, do argue that he was born from human parent as well, so we are not going to get into those detail or arguments. Around 8 or 10 years, according to the prophecy of the Buddha, after the passing away of the Buddha, he is believed to have lived in the Indian subcontinent for some centuries, appearing in as many forms as aspect as necessary to accomplish his enlightened activities. During this time, he is known by different names, as you have also been already heard about 8 manifestations and so on. The principal among them are the 8 manifestations. As the Buddha foretold of Dharma traveling to the north, Guru Rinpoche fulfilled his prophecy by making Tibet and the Himalayan region home of his spiritual legacy. However, the material resources of sacred images and visual culture of this iconic Guru before his journey to Tibet and the Himalayas remains scant and non-trustable at best in his home country, basically. Now, there may be 2 reasons, probably, from my own limited thinking, what may have contributed to this. We have heard about the Nalanda, we all know about Nalanda, what happened to that huge collection and storage of the libraries and literatures were subsequently burned due to several factors, as is well known. And also, the images of the Guru Padmasambhava and other deity figures probably may have resulted in the same fate, I would say, not exactly in the same way, but there's been systematic assimilation of the Buddhist deities into more into the Hinduism's deity around the 10th century. It is well known, documented. So as myself, I've also seen in places like Odisha, there are places which is clearly a Buddhist places with the Buddhist deity, but it's now been transformed, assimilated, and called by different names. So such thing would have happened, not that there has not been a Buddhist statues or deities in India, but today we will not have much things to talk about. So in Jajpur district of Odisha, which I'm from now, anyway I'm from Odisha, there's a Jatamukha Avalokiteshvara, a statue which dated 8th to 9th century, was found with, which is inscribed on his back 25 lines that clearly mentions name of Padma Prabha, which is sometimes referred to as other name of Guru Padmasambhava. And for this reason, that the Odisha scholars tend to believe that Guru Rinpoche, not only tend to believe, but strongly argue that Guru Rinpoche Padmasambhava was actually born in Odisha. Now, of course, yesterday we have had another take on it, and quite interesting, though outrageous, sometimes sounds like outrageous, though, that Guru Rinpoche being born in Tamil. And so it's also, I think, great thing that the Guru's popularity is gaining somehow, that everybody is making claim on it. This is natural, anyway. So I'm actually happy that there are so many Gurus claiming on it. So our best shot yet at identifying the origin of Guru's costume attributes is probably Kingdom of Sahor. Now again, that Sahor, to identify exactly where it is still not so clear. It's still under argument and dispute, I believe so. Rabalsar, commonly now popularly known as Sopema, as a place of the Sahor. I'm still exactly not clear on this. Anyway, when Guru Rinpoche saw his physical image that is to be enshrined in Samye Monastery in the 8th century, he is believed to have remarked, "It looked like me." That's the statue which I think many of us have seen. And I saw this morning, I think in Ian Baker's presentation, there was a picture of it. That is probably the most popular, most famous statue of Guru Rinpoche, because Guru Rinpoche remarked, "It looked like me." This statue of Guru is thought to be the first of the visual images and most authentic, and it was approved and blessed by him. Thus bears closest resemblance to the Guru. To the Tibetan and Himalayan audiences, this image and aspect became permanently associated and uniquely identified to Guru Rinpoche. When sacred images of the Guru later emerge as part of Thelma treasure, and most of them have this striking resemblance of the Samye statue. The king of Zahor, around 7th century perhaps, offered his crown, royal costumes, and daughter, Princess Mandarava, to Guru Rinpoche as part of repentance and confession, as the history goes. The Guru appeared unscathed even when put to burn in fire for days. Then the image, what the king saw after those days of fire, Guru seated on a freshly blossomed lotus in the middle of the lake, adorned with crown and regal costumes in a majestic pose of fearlessness, would become the universal icon of the Guru Padmasambhava. Based on this representation, I would therefore like to touch upon the following description a little bit on what I know. Even though the exhibition that is brilliantly displayed upstairs with the collaboration from the Royal Government of Bhutan carries the full picture and image of Guru Rinpoche, so I wouldn't need to have all the pictures here. So you can please have time and have a look at that exhibition. Really wonderful up there. So the portrait of Guru Rinpoche can be with wide open eyes, which is a very special gaze of the Guru, which is considered as a spatial dimensions of Dzogchen, the Mahasandhi, the gaze. He is frequently distinguished by sumptuous clocks in which we may discern the reflection of some relationship with the Bodhisattva figure as well. If any historical background exists of the legendary biographies of Guru Rinpoche, this should have been represented by the subtle orientation of religious culture of his homeland. The visual and material evidence now starts shedding some light on this issue. To talk about the artistic point of view regarding the many of the rock sculptures and other images that have long remained almost untouched or unrecognized until analytical study highlighted how, with their refined aesthetic and innovative iconographic character, they can be considered the forerunner of themes which blossomed later in Himalayan art. Yeah. For instance, there's a Patachitra, I think probably you know, an art form that still flourishes in Orissa, in a village not so far from the Puri, Jagannath Puri. There's a whole village dedicated to this Patachitra form of art, where many scholars now believe that the Thangka painting's origin may have been from there, the Patachitra canvas painting. So this tradition is still very much alive today in this Orisha's village. So just wanted to highlight that. Now, the common depiction of the Guru is seated with his 2 feet in the royal posture. One can even look here now. Posture, one face and 2 hands, serious but smiling. He blesses magnificently with the splendor of the major and minor marks of enlightened qualities, the 5-petal lotus crown on his head with 3 points symbolizing the 3 kayas, 5 colors symbolizing the 5 wisdom, a sun and moon symbolizing skillful means and wisdom, a vajra top to symbolize indestructible samadhi, a vulture's feather to represent the realization of the highest view. His 2 eyes are wide open with a piercing gaze. He has a youthful appearance of 8 or 16 years old. His complexion fair with a tinge of red. On his body he wears a silk cloak, dharma robes and gown. Right hand holds a 5-pronged vajra holding his heart. Left hand rests in gesture of equanimity as he holds a kapala brimming with amrita containing the vase of longevity that is also filled with amrita of deathless wisdom and ornamented on top by wish-fulfilling tree. The Khatanga now that is resting on his left hand is a particular divine attribute of Padmasambhava and interesting to his 3 kayas. His iconographic presentation, you can always see this. So it's a danda actually with 3 severed heads, denoting 3 kayas, crowned by Trishula and dressed with sash of Himalayan rainbow or 5 pure lights of the Mahabhuta. He is depicted solo or often surrounded by 8 Vidyadharas of India, of course often with the 2 consorts, the famous ones, one from India and Nepal and Tibet, as well as sometimes was depicted with all other consorts as well. In the course of time, the creation and construction of the great Guru's iconic representatives may vary due to cultural and craftsmanship in particular countries. The iconic illustration of Guru Rinpoche, whether in the form of statues made of mud, clay, or metal cast, or carved on the rocks, painted on scrolls, one will find them enshrined in the temples, people's houses, dotted on hilltops, roadsides, lakes, and rivers. Not only did the Guru lay the foundation of Buddhism, particularly Vajrayana tradition, but also gave birth to Himalayan Buddhist cultural heritage, which is today the most visible identity of the Himalayan people. Now, despite sometimes our historical differences and views, what actually unites all the Himalayas together is in the reverence of the Guru Padmasambhava. Am I doing okay? Yes. So generally, during the period of Theravada's dominance, till around 3rd century, before the emergence of Mahayana, it is argued that Buddha was not depicted in physical form, but through representation and symbolism as an iconic art. Others do argue that during one of the Buddhist council, after passing away of the Buddha, an old lady who met the Buddha narrated the physical features, and the first known image of the Buddha was carved by master craftsmen. It may also be noted that this marked the transition of the Buddha's teaching as a simple philosophical path into a principal force of a religion. Although there has been considerable scholarly debate about the matters, it seems clear that Buddhists begin to depict the Buddha very early on, perhaps even before his parinirvana, though such images doesn't survive till today. After the emergence of Padmasambhava in the world, the sacred iconic images, visual arts, and ritual culture of symbolism exploded on the back of emerging universal acceptance of Buddhist Tantra and its deity mandala. With the advent of Bodhisattva's ideal of Mahayana Buddhism from the 5th century onward, and eventual emergence of Vajrayana into center stage, at least in the Himalayan region, the visual art or sacred art form took a dynamic shift. The mandala principle consists of infinite universe, home of subtle energies and innate awakened state of mind, are manifested in the form of a deity. From a single family to multiple family with retinues, the deities occupy particular space and universe. Each dwell in their own mandala, thus invoking color, magic, and mysticism. For a tantric practitioner, sadhaka or tantrika, to enter into the direct experience of pure vision. Now that is a big topic, pure vision. That's what comes in the Vajrayana basically. What differs other schools of Buddhism and the Vajrayana Buddhism is mainly the subtle views, dishta, developed on the pure vision. That is where the Maha Yoga, Anu Yoga, Ati Yoga, the three intersect that we've been talking about, really carries the heart in it is the pure vision. Mainly how your own mental state becomes purified, your own projection of the world also changes accordingly to that. That is what is called pure vision. Pure vision is not really somewhat imagining something outside being pure, but is a result of a projection of a mind that is in itself pure and primordially, say, clear and luminous. So here, we enter into this pure vision. One must be initiated into the mandala by a qualified and accomplished teacher or guru through the process of what is called abhisheka. After that, then one receives essential instructions and the application of sadhana, the sacred text that teaches the practitioner into gradual development of visualization, mantra repetition, and completion with the meditation deity. Perhaps no other country bears testimony to the living tradition of Guru Padmasambhava's sacred visual culture than Bhutan. I may not need to actually highlight a lot here because there's been so much of Bhutan been already spoken yesterday, especially by the Honorable Tashi Ura and the rest of the people. No matter, I feel like saying some things about the Bhutan because it is really a wonderful place to talk about. In fact, Bhutan remains only Vajrayana kingdom in the world. The imposing and majestic Taksang, tiger's nest, a place where Padmasambhava manifested a Dorje Trole, a fierce and wrathful form of Guru riding on a tiger's back, subdued the negative spirits and opposing forces, therefore laying the ground for the founding of Kingdom of Bhutan. The Guru watches over the well-being of the people of Bhutan ever since. The Guru were, the Paro Kichu temple and Buntang Kuji temple are among the most ancient places of pilgrim, bearing impeccably preserved images, murals, and body prints of Guru Rinpoche. Most of these historical places are named after him or one of his manifestations. The biggest religious events in the calendar of the kingdom is Sechu, as you have heard a lot about that. This commemoration of the Guru Rinpoche, Padmasambhava's birth, life, and enlightened activities. Most popular among them are the 8 manifestations of Guru Rinpoche. I was very sorry to say that our Venerable Negi couldn't have time to actually explain on the description of the 8 manifestation and the meaning of the Vajra Guru mantra. That was, I think, was really missing in this conference. It's so important, it's the heart of it. Anyway, the Guru Rinpoche story is retold on this day, the Sechu Day through a rich tapestry of costume, mask, music, dance, ritual objects, and mantras performed in a vibrant and visual splendor, bringing forth an air of spiritual climax, leaving audience with a renewed sense of hope, faith, and blessings. A visual culture that can be merely experienced by living it. I think it's very important to understand that one has to live the culture, one has to live the experience to really understand and appreciate what it is. We have these 2 days sometimes on a very intellectual sense of talks and journey, which is of course very good to present cases, but we must have a feeling about it, because the feeling makes a difference. Feeling brings that experience, and therefore living the culture, to live the culture, makes a big difference of what really means the life and legacy of Guru Padmasambhava, and Bhutan is one country that actually lives it. So in conclusion, I think I'm quite okay on time. Perhaps Air India should employ me. In conclusion, I would like to say, no doubt, that the sacred visual arts and culture do play a significant role in all religious traditions, instilling faith, inspiring the devout to remain firm on the path, reminding them of higher purposes in life, a sense of belonging, and providing refuge in times of distress. Whether one is well versed in scriptures or even able to read them, visual images and visual culture is easily connected and accessible to all. From the perspective of academic field, visual culture provides ample room to peek into sociology, anthropology, and history of the past society, and help us better understand on geopolitical and socio-economic structure of the present day. Most in the South Asian countries, actually the most of the South Asian countries, are an example of how religious visual culture shapes and colors every aspect of spiritual and temporal life. To study and understand this visual culture and their symbolism help us to gain more wisdom and respect for diverse, sacred visual culture that has a positive influence on society and humanity at large. Now, I also saw that that we have so many things to talk about the Himalaya, and there's no doubt, there's no actually question of any urgency that the legacy of the Guru is not living in the Himalayan region. There's plenty of life being infused there, but the real point is how much it is known in its host country, India. That's the main challenge. I would like that this conference draws on that, how to bring the awareness of the legacy of the teaching and life of Guru Padmasambhava into the vast consciousness of the Indian population. I think that is really important. That's what I really hope that this conference will make a connection. There is no such urgency or danger at all in the Himalayas.